I'm back. Today, now welcome onto the stage, Yelena Vainberg, Anthony Featherstone, and Dave Remick. This is the last panel of our little, think of it like when you get the little shorty shows, is what I call it in my household. Like you got your big episodes and then you got your shorty shows, like going through Brooklyn Nine-Nine right now. This is our little shorty show series of panels. In our last one here, we're looking at local solutions and turning to focus about what is happening through economic and workforce development systems within our region. So, as I said, joined today by Yelena Vainberg. She's from Build Within, which will be talking about talent capital in addition to some other Build Within pieces. Also, Anthony Featherstone, he's Executive Director of WorkSource Montgomery from Montgomery, Maryland. And Dave Remick, many of you probably know Dave, that he is the Executive Director for Arlington Alexandria Workforce Development Center. Oh, and one more click. There's their beautiful faces. Here we are.
I just happen to not wearing the exact same suit.
I realize I wear black a lot, so yes. So we're just going to do a really a short panel conversation about what's happening across these different jurisdictions and then have some shared questions across all the panelists. So Yelena, since you're sitting right next to me, we'll have you go first. Talk a little bit about Build Within, your work there, and then also the Talent Capital platform.
Great. Thank you so much, Kat, for having me here, and a huge thanks to Amanda and my IBM colleague, my former IBM colleague, Jen, for the introduction to this group. So I joined Build Within over the summer, and I'm working specifically focusing on Maryland apprenticeship work, but I'm really excited to kind of expand to the conversation to the DMV. So Build Within is, at our heart, a technology company, a technology startup specifically in the workforce development space. So we're working to revolutionize workforce development as how employers, job seekers, and the community are able to access these services and opportunities in a much more quicker and a more streamlined way. So at the heart, we leverage technology for skills matching to really connect employers and job seekers in the communities. We have an apprenticeship management system, and we're also a U.S. Department of Labor apprenticeship intermediary. And what that means, we, on behalf of employers of all sizes, from small, very small businesses to large corporations, we work to streamline some of the federal as well as state processes in order to get them registered. We have over about 45 apprenticeable roles registered with USDOL. We are also registered in Maryland, Illinois, Virginia, in California and Tennessee. And so those are kind of our technology hubs in across the country. And so kind of just wanted to share that prefaces that this work really informed our partnerships across the DMV to build talent capital. And so talent capital is a dynamic regional effort that came together very quickly to respond to some of the, I think, statistics and the foreshadowing that were covered, I think, through the labor market lens earlier at the onset of this conference. And really, I think there's some really important pieces that kind of came together. This is a dynamic effort, right? This is leveraging not just AI, but agentic AI. There's a team of AI agents that underpin the technology that are specifically doing the work on behalf of the query. So if it's a job seeker, it's an individual who's thinking about pivoting. All of those queries are done by a specific agent within the platform, within the squad. And what's really neat about it, and I think kind of forward-looking, is that it's able to provide that data in a more refreshed and dynamic way. So if a job opening has closed, a networking event is already passed, I think that information is provided in a refreshed way to the job seekers. So we're 20 days in. It launched on October 1st. 20 days in, over 40,000 active users. Yeah, so I think this thing is dynamic. It's really responding to the individuals who are going on the site and are really working kind of to uplift and highlight the resources that are available in our community, including Montgomery County and the Arlington, Alexandria area. So maybe I'll pause here.
Yeah. And we did put a link to Talent Capital on that speaker resources section of the event webpage. So you'd have to scroll through to get there, but it's there. As you can go find the Talent Capital link. Talentcapital.ai, very easy. So then, Anthony, for WorkSource Montgomery, what are you working on? What's happening? And what are you learning along the way related to the changes we're seeing in our workforce?
Well, first, I want to thank my good friend Dave, because I do have the same suit on that I had on in that picture. I tried to change I tried to change the shirt and leave the tie at home. But it's good to be here with you. Anthony Featherstone, Executive Director for the Montgomery County Workforce Development Board. We operate 9 American Job Centers throughout the county. Some are brick and mortar, some are virtual, some are within our correctional facility, some are mobile. And so our work is pretty simple in how I explain it. We want to help our talent in Montgomery County connect to opportunity, and we want to help our opportunity, which are our businesses, connect to talent. And so we're kind of in the middle of that supply-demand equation, helping residents connect to training and connect to viable employment and career pathways, and working with our businesses to make sure that we're training in areas that make sense for where they are today and what's going to be coming down the pike to tomorrow. And so there's a lot happening in Montgomery County when it comes to the federal workforce and just how AI is impacting our local economy. And so I'll just kind of talk about a couple ways that we're utilizing AI as a local workforce development system. I'll start internally. Number one, as an organization, we developed a AI persona. We call it Navi, short for Navigator, and so it helps with our onboarding. It helps with just the continuous learning process for all of our employees at WorkSource Montgomery. And so anything that's written about the organization, whether it's externally or internally from a policy or procedural standpoint, is dumped into Navi. And so as we build it and fly it, as we like to say in workforce development, you can always connect with Navi in addition to the resources that we have internally to figure out, hey, I want to pay for someone to go to school. How do I make that happen? I want to help someone pay for their uniforms because they just got a job. How do I make that happen? And so in addition to the normal training process, Navi is there to give you the step-by-step, play-by-play as an employee to help you know how to get your, to do whatever you need to do to get to your end goal and whatever task. From a community standpoint, we're doing AI boot camps. And so these are quick-hitting training sessions for residents that's coupled with our community computer literacy programming. And so we have everyone from MCPS students to older workers and everybody in between jump into these community workshops to learn exactly what is AI and what are the tools that are out there that can help you as an employee, as a student, in your personal life, or whatever the case may be. And so those have been really impactful. We call them Future Fridays in Montgomery County. We're also working with Build Within to promote the Talent Capital AI website for Montgomery County residents looking to access virtual career center services. And so we also recognize that we're not the experts in AI or AI implementation, and so you don't want us to sit in a boardroom or sit in whatever room as workforce professionals and figure out exactly how AI is influencing the workforce. And so we have an incoming worker training grant that's locally funded where we're working with small businesses. And as you see as a business owner how AI is influencing or impacting where you're going or where you're headed, and you need to do some training with your staff, we're sharing those costs so that we can help you out to get over whatever hurdle or get to the next step from a business standpoint. And so those are just a couple ways that we're utilizing AI. But I'll stop right there so we can hand it to my good friend Dave.
All right. And Dave, for you, tell us what's going on at Alexandria Arlington Regional Workforce Council, and what do you see as promising practice? What's moving the needle?
Well, actually, one of the biggest promising practices is something that Anthony told me, I don't know, about 4 months ago. And so, when this whole federal workforce thing started to happen way back in the day, in let's say February, there was a lot of elected government officials and a lot of other organizations quickly jumping to get together to help respond to the situation. And Congressman Don Byers in our area put together a resource event where, and this was I think it was the beginning of March, where all the different government entities could come in and help talk to these individuals that were either just laid off or about to get laid off or did not know what was going on, to help them, just to help them. And these individuals were scared. I talked to people who were crying. It was, over 1,000 people. And it was terrifying in some ways when you extrapolate what you're seeing and how it could relate to the Greater Washington Region's community overall. And while Anthony and I represent specific jurisdictions, we operate in the Greater Washington Region. So we're looking at it from that lens, and that's why I'm very happy that Talent Capital is around, because it's one of those online systems where it's coordinating a lot of the activities that are going on, and there are a lot of activities going on. So I was bouncing my head against the wall thinking, well, how can we help these individuals that are leaving? They have just incredible experience. And I was hoping that there was some sort of solution out there that could map where their occupations were in the federal government to where they could be in the civilian world. And I was coming up with nothing. And we were at an event, and I saw, hey, Anthony, what's going on? And then I said, do you know anything out there that can do some sort of mapping? And it goes, Google Career Dreamer. Now, I was supposed to be on a panel later that day, and I was like, what is this? And I started looking on my phone. I ignored Anthony. I was focused on my phone. And this thing is awesome. And if you haven't seen it yet, go check it out. It's AI-powered. It basically does the career mapping of where you are and where you can go, and talks about all the different things in between, leads you to particular jobs, and also with its AI tools helps develop the things that you need for interviewing and resumes and so forth and so on. It is awesome, and it's free. So, the 2 or 3 months after that, all I've been doing is promoting that because it is a good, valuable tool for these individuals. But, at the end of the day, AI is awesome, and it helps everybody if you know how to use it, and more importantly, how not to abuse it. But you have to level set everybody. What is AI? And so we spent a lot of time just teaching that. I was very fortunate to meet with a professor here at George Mason University, Dr. Seshayir, who is on a lot of the state boards that deal with technology and AI. And he was very cool about helping me with creating a series of AI 101 for state workforce staff, for our staff, for job seekers, especially those that are coming off of the federal marketplace, to not only explain what is AI, but then how do you use that for career navigation, exploration, and ultimately getting a job. And so we've had a series of online and offline workshops on those things tied into our job fairs and other events, so that we could bring people up in a way of understanding how to use this great tool to further their opportunities. And there's this other thing I was going to say, but I forget, so I'm sure it'll come up in the next 10 minutes.
So can you say the name of the tool again? Talent Dreamer?
Google's Career Dreamer. So just
Google's
Google Career Dreamer. It's actually a small part of their digital certificates. I don't know why they're not promoting this on its own. That's insane. And as someone who owns a few shares of Google, I'm not happy about it, but it is cool.
Well, and it's interesting because the next question I was going to pose to the panel as a whole is talking about this transition from federal workforce being able to be in the private sector. So knowing what jobs and roles is like, where am I going? What am I even looking for? My applications am I submitting? But then also some of the cultural bridge. Terry talked a little bit as part of our earlier conversation in August about a culture of compliance to a culture of innovation. Another piece of the culture of being being really mission-driven and community-driven and wanting to change the world into a private sector setting. And so across open for panelists about how are you seeing that cultural bridge both for the employee to be prepared for that cultural shift, but also for employers to see those values as assets. Values around people who are more driven by compliance and wanting things to be right and done well and safely, and seeing that as a value rather than as a hindrance to the innovation culture of the private sector. So open to whoever wants to take that first.
1, 2, 3, shoot.
So, in Montgomery County, 10% of our households are dependent upon federal income, and so that's 70,000 plus individuals who work for the federal government, and that does not include folks who are contractors. So that's just W-2 employment for the federal government. So that's pretty significant any way you slice it. And so one thing that we did was we saw the waves coming when it came to federal workers being out of work and needing support and figuring out what their next move is. And so in July, we created the Federal Workforce Career Center in Montgomery County, which opened on September 15th and had a a media event last week. And so it's a dedicated space to work with our federal talent in Montgomery County that needs to figure out what their next step or next opportunity may be. And so we're using Google Career Dreamer. I'll double down on what Dave said. It's an awesome tool. It'll give you kind of everything you need to figure out, what your next step and opportunities are based on what you've done and where you were at in the federal government. And so we're using that in the FWCC, as we call it. But we also have real people offering career coaching services to federal workers. And so there's no, in my opinion, replacement for being able to sit down with a qualified individual and just have that conversation about what you've done, where you're going. And we're sitting down with research scientists and people with the degrees that I didn't even know existed and that are doing things or have done things that I can't even comprehend. And so they're trying to figure out how does this translate to the private sector, and they are fearful that they don't have a place in the private sector. And these are real anecdotes that we've received. And so that career coaching, having a conversation, using technology, and helping them translate those skills into a private sector standpoint, that's been invaluable to us as we've been working with federal workers. And then also making sure that we're making real connections from a networking standpoint, not on an official interview standpoint, but providing those networking opportunities for folks that are coming to our FWCC so that they can have those conversations and they can see real time from those conversations where they fit in the private sector. And so it's a combination of using AI through Career Dreamer and utilizing certified career coaches to have those conversations that may be missed when you're using an awesome tool like Google Career Dreamer. So that's been our strategy thus far. We're only a couple weeks into it, so we're learning day by day. But that's where we're at right now.
Yeah, and I would just jump in and just add to the conversation. I think that there's also, I would add that there's also a really vibrant startup and founder community in DC and Virginia and Maryland, and I'm just learning about it since joining Build Within. But one way to plug is there is a DC startup whole week event going on, and I think through Talent Capital there are executive coaching sessions for recent dislocated workers, including federal workers. So there is a mixture of technology as well as in person, kind of that human connection. So I would just add that's super important, and I think we have a region that's so rich in these resources. And it kind of made me think about my own transition from a decade of federal service to joining IBM, and I will say that was a real transition. Even though I had a job lined up, I was coming in to do government affairs for the company, but just thinking about how, the federal government works or doesn't work versus, how the systems are in place in a corporate setting, in a private setting. I think it takes a mind shift, and I think it's important to have those open and honest, human-centered conversations as well.
And you're talking, and this is the compliance versus innovation.
Yes, so the cultural mindset.
The cultural
yeah.
mindset. Well, there you go. I look at compliance and innovation kind of literally. You have innovation, and then there's some compliance laid off over it just to make sure it's not abused. But through that, more innovation, more compliance. And so, I read in the news daily about how everybody's freaking out about AI. It is an awesome tool. It's nothing to be concerned about. It could be used to make everybody's life a lot more efficient. I was talking to, actually Jim and I, Dr. Egenreiter over there, and I co-chair a career technical education committee in Arlington. And we were talking last week, or I think 2 weeks ago, there was a student or they were talking about the student, sorry. Last year, there was a perception that students were using AI to help them get around, I don't want to say cheating, because I don't want to put that in the news, but they were using it to, well, they were using it to cheat. But when there wasn't really any type of compliance around use of AI in the classroom. And so when the school system is looking at putting that compliance in and looking at the tools, and they're talking to students about how they're using it, they're realizing that students weren't cheating. They were using it to make their learning experience more efficient. That is awesome. That in itself is problem solving. That's a soft skill that is deeply needed. And so they're figuring out, all right, well, let's put some compliance around how we can use AI in the classroom so that we can build them up. Also in the news, there are people worried about jobs that they're studying for that could not be there when they graduate. I was here in that room over there last week talking to a first-year law student at the Scalia School, which is just down the hallway here, and asking them, are you worried about AI taking your job opportunities and whenever you graduate? And he said, no. He said, in fact, AI is being taught within our curriculums so that we know how to be more efficient, so that when we graduate, we are a better product at the end of the day. And I think many educational systems are doing this. I think it's great that we have AI-specific things that we're learning, but also know that if AI is part of any type of job, or could be part of any type of job, that the instructors, leaders, managers are working to figure out how to put that in there. I hope that made sense.
Yes, thank you. Last panel, or question for the panel. So here we have this group of leaders, people who do deep thinkers, people with networks. What is one thing folks in this room can do to help scale what's working for each of your different communities, interest areas, and initiatives? What can this group do to help you? Yelena, you got your answer.
Sure, yeah, absolutely. I would just say, just reflecting how talent capital came together, and I see Alex over here who was an instrumental leader in this space. I would just say that, this effort came together because folks were, focused around a problem, were ready to jump in and find solutions. And a lot of the friction and red tape and some of the normal challenges sort of fell away. And I would just say that that's one way to maybe consider approaching workforce, is just to think beyond the normal friction and just move forward together.
So for me, I would say we need your thought leadership for workforce boards. AI is going to be or should be a topic today and for the indefinite future. And so, we're working with partners like, my friend Mauricio Vasquez, CEO for the Montgomery County Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, to identify leaders to step onto our boards that can help advise us to guide us into the future, so we stay relevant as far as having good value-add resources for our residents and for our businesses. And then if you have money, we need your money too, because everything costs money as well. But I think your thought leadership is number one. I think for Montgomery County's workforce board, and I can't speak for every board, but I think every public workforce system should be represented by experts in this space.
Mine's a bit of a, we got like what, 30 seconds left, so I'll make it really quick. It's attacked off of technology. Everybody rolling out of the federal marketplace right now is relevant. I hear, anecdotally, from some employers that they are fearful of hiring anybody from the federal government because of the preconceived notions of who they are. That is bunk. They might not speak the way you speak, but they have experience, and you may need to coach them out of it, but they are very relevant people that have supported our area, the greater Washington region, through having a job, paying taxes, growing a family. So if you can, for me, when you're talking, if you're an employer in here or you're talking to employers, please let them know. We have a very relevant and experienced workforce, and I really hope that everybody takes advantage of this labor pool that is now available for them. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, panel. Thanks to all of you. So as we are transitioning, our last piece before we head to lunch is to invite Alex Arfinger to come up to the stage. So thank you to the panel. And